Hey, and we're back. And
We read.
yeah, my head's killing me today. I'm just not
Okay.
not 100%.
So we finished chapter 2
Yes.
of The Answer.
Yes.
And it was
Nerdy.
very, I was going to say it was trying to lay the groundwork on the science behind how we think shapes our world. I think that's it in a nutshell. And I can get behind that concept. Like, how we perceive things really does shape what happens in our lives and how we see the events around us. And so it was kind of just like the science of thought and how some of the concepts, I think he was laying the groundwork for how some of the concepts in the book might seem outlandish or outrageous, but that he was trying to mostly point out that's because they're new to us, the reader, right? Possibly. Maybe you've seen these concepts in the past, since this book is somewhat on the older side. But that, in the time when science was really, being birthed, so to speak, if you had said to someone that the world revolves around the sun, they probably would have laughed at you. And so I feel like that's what he was trying to point out. Like, that if you told someone that the world is shaped by your thoughts, if you just said that to someone on the street, they would probably just look at you like you were crazy and laugh and walk away, right? But in reality, for me at least, and maybe this comes with the some of the other books that we've read together along the way that we think, and really, Lil, come on, thank you. The way that we think and that really does shape the world that we see, right? And the choices that we make. And so if you are a ruminator and you're constantly thinking on a situation in a negative way, then you tend to perceive things most likely from a place of negativity. Just like optimists are known to see things from a positive space, right? But that it has to do with their thinking.
Well, and it's so much more than that. So what I loved about this chapter, and the reason this chapter was really what sold me on this book the first time I read it, was this chapter, because I have always been, I was raised as a kid somehow or another Roman Catholic, but also raised to think for myself and ask a lot of questions.
Oh, that got you in trouble, I'm sure, with the church.
Something had to give.
Yeah.
So, and that's no shade on Roman Catholicism. It just, faith and knowledge are to some degree antithetical. Faith is, by definition, it's a sort of defined by the space where knowledge gives out, and you have to just go on instinct or whatever. So, but all that to say, as a result, things like The Secret were very difficult for me to swallow, because it was like, yeah, okay, so A, you're saying my entire life is somehow or another my fault. It's just a result of all my bad thinking or something. And B, that somehow or another I can just will myself into the life I've always dreamed, and that hard work doesn't matter or something. That was, just to be clear, never what The Secret was trying to say, but it was very easy for me to fall into that impression, and it was very hard for me to buy into the concept without understanding how the hell this could possibly work. There was no framework by my worldview that allowed this to be possible, so of course I wouldn't buy into it. That would be silly. So this chapter gave me the science. It gave me the scientific principles behind how it actually doesn't conflict with our modern scientific understanding of the world whatsoever. It folds very neatly into it, and maybe even accounts for, in the long run, some of the stuff that science is having trouble explaining. So, you know, they dig into, you know, subatomic particles and how essentially once you get far enough down, you know, breaking the world into smaller and smaller pieces, you get to just this infinite field of probability. It's just infinite possibility, everything that could be, infinite power. They essentially break down how the concept of God is very much a probability from a scientific standpoint, whether or not that God, you know, thinks, feels, or acts the way we choose to humanize or personify it. Okay, notwithstanding, but there is a scientific evidence of a unified field of infinite possibility, infinite knowledge, infinite awareness, and infinite consciousness, that everything is made up out of, surrounded by, a part of, and that just the very act of thinking about those subatomic particles causes them to be, and it causes them to change their state, change their existence, basically, to line up with what you expected to see. If that happens on a subatomic level and everything is made up of atoms that are made up of subatomic particles, okay, yeah, all of this is suddenly plausible for me. Like, that was the moment there was like, okay, I buy this. Now I can accept this notion. Have I seen, you know, had I at that point seen proof that it was real? No, absolutely not. But I had a foundation whereby it made sense. I had a foundation whereby I could say, okay, maybe this is how it works. And that was enough for me to try. And it's only by trying and suspending disbelief long enough to really give it a fair effort that you begin to see those results and actually get to prove it to yourself. It's like trying to conduct an experiment on something that you don't think exists. Well, how do you produce the thing to experiment on in the first place then? It's not there. So this was giving me the thing. It was very cool.
Awesome.
A lot of hard words and names to pronounce. We'll warn you that.
Yeah. Anything else?
I think Laszlo and Heisenberg were among the easiest.
Yes.
Nearspor. Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows Einstein. They reference him.
True.
I mean, I hope everyone knows him.
And if not, reach out. We can connect you with some resources.
Yeah.
Education matters.
Seriously.
All right, so then we'll move on to chapter 3, of course. I believe 3 is where they start getting more into like kind of the like, what do you actually do with that information?
That makes sense.
Yeah, leave us your comments, your own opinions, thoughts, feelings. If you slept through it, if it was unbelievably difficult to understand, if it totally made sense, and you're like, I get it. Yeah, let us know. And we will be back with you with chapter 3.